Howdy all, I'm Adam the Renaissance Nerd. The highly orchestrated, targeted, propaganda-fueled hate campaign against YouTubers who simply have a different opinion, or no, let's say it, the honest, true, passionate opinion about Disney Star Wars has been going on for almost a week now, and I myself and many others have both chronicled it. We have analyzed it, we have commented on it, we have had discussions on it, those who are centrally involved and those of us on the outside who are simply wanting to share our opinions on it and get the word out even more so. We've been talking about it, and it's gone through several stages. It's gone through the stages of the attempt to destroy and eliminate voices that are reaching the public, that are reaching normies and real fans alike. Then it went to the whole, oh my God, YouTube is evil because they didn't accept our targeted, focused, propaganda-filled hate campaign. They didn't believe us. Oh, YouTube, you're terrible. To now then, we're going to go after YouTube. We're going after advertisers. We're going to tell them to not listen to these toxic, hate-filled, bigoted people. And here we are now moving into the next phase. Now that the fake fans and social media influencers have failed, it's time for the shill media to take a swing at giving an altered take, a fake narrative take on this stuff. Now, a couple weeks ago, we had a nice little sit down and went over a Paul Tassi article here at Forbes, where he said, oh, I know what's going on with the Acolyte cancellation. Here's the truth of it. Well, we broke that down and showed what a fool, what an uneducated, fake fan, passionless, soulless fool Paul Tassi is. But he's back for more, my friends. Here is Paul Tassi again. The Acolyte has caused Star Wars fandom to plunge into civil war.
Cry havoc, and let's slip the dogs of war.
And here, again, is someone who has no idea what he's talking about. First and foremost, before we get into the article, there can only be a civil war when it's a fandom fighting itself. What we have here going on right now concerning the cancellation of the Acolyte, the lame, pathetic defense of Star Wars Outlaws, even though it's not mentioned in this, that's included in all of this as well. What we have here are stands, Disney Star Wars, cock-gobbling, swallowing, shit-stuffing, clapping seal stands. We have them saying, you're all hate-filled, toxic bigots because you don't like our show. It is your show. It's not Star Wars. And there's the point. It isn't Star Wars. So actual, real George Lucas Star Wars fans, we're not here to pretend Disney Star Wars is Star Wars. We're here to say it's not Star Wars. Therefore, you have stands, you have fans, something I have commented on repeatedly over the months this year. Fans are fighting back against stands. This isn't a civil war. It's not even a war. Because guess what? Show me one instance, financially, commercially, where Disney Star Wars has actually truly won. And yes, you could say, oh, The Mandalorian, it won when it came out. Oh, Rogue One. Oh, the sequel trilogy. Oh, well, first of all, let's go through those. The sequel trilogy has never made profit enough to get a return on investment from buying Star Wars from George Lucas and turning it into Disney Star Wars. It hasn't made that money. Forbes itself, I think it was even, oh, no, it wasn't Paul Tassi. I think it was somebody else. They had to report on that it hasn't made the purchase price back. That essentially means Disney Star Wars hasn't done it as a whole because everything else on Disney Plus never made money. Okay, so what else did I say? Mandalorian. Well, Mandalorian Season 1 was well received, but it has now suffered from the crap that has since been put out that continues to diminish the franchise. And Rogue One, people say it's the best Disney Star Wars ever did. Along with Andor, it's the best they ever did. Well, it's the best final 30 minutes of a movie that people remember. Nobody ever talks about the first two parts of the movie, the first two acts. They only talk about the very end where you got a space battle and Darth Vader kicking ass, only to begin the next chronological movie where he has no idea what's going on and he's suddenly not using his force powers to crunch everybody. You know, let's talk the truth about all of that. That's Disney Star Wars. All pomp No actual substance. None of it making sense. None of it actually working. So it's never worked. And real fans have rejected it, and that's what's going on here. The stands have never had a win. They really have never had a win. And real fans, we get the wins because we have stayed true to our principles. But Paul Tassi, he's going to tell us otherwise. Let's get into this. You think the drama of the Acolyte is over? Think again. As now, what has been arguments about content of the show has progressed into full-on civil war in the Star Wars fandom community. See my comments a moment ago. The two parties are fans that appreciate shows like The Acolyte and did not appreciate what seemed to be a coordinated, relentless assault on the show and its actors by YouTubers and their subscribers. They are attempting to demonetize many of those accounts, which they believe are racist or encourage targeted harassment campaigns. The other side says they simply hate the show for normal reasons, which is true. We hate it because it's bad Star Wars. It's not real Star Wars. We hate it because it's poorly acted, poorly written, and doesn't make sense. Because Leslie Headland only has a vision for agenda, and her writer's room are a bunch of retards who couldn't spell their own names if given, all their entire lives. They couldn't do it. They can't. There's the old adage. If you put monkeys in a room with a typewriter, eventually, if enough time passes, they'll write Shakespeare. Well, the monkeys are smarter than the Acolyte writer's room. The saga of the Acolyte is well known at this point. The show has little watched, but developed core base of fans who really like it. Yeah, the core base exists as 70,000 people. That's who watched it. Their fan base showed up, but that's all they have. They don't have anybody else. The ratings proved it. Over and over and over again, so much so that for the back half of the season, it mostly didn't chart on Nielsen's top 10 original streaming. Ranging from its representation, a black lead, and an Asian heartthrob as its villain. Remember, they think abuse is romance, and they only create thirst traps for people. That's what Disney Star Wars is. Shipping and representation. To its storyline split from the Skywalker saga by several hundred years. It's only Paul Tassi can't even get his own shill facts right. This show takes place only 100 years before the Phantom Menace. That's how far out it is. It's not hundreds, it's 100 years by the Disney Star Wars timeline. That's not hundreds of years, Paul. You idiot. YouTubers in question devoted dozens, if not hundreds, of videos dedicated to tearing down the show and everyone associated with it each and every week, which led to not just pushback from the Acolyte fans, but stars like Amanda Stenberg publicly talking about the racism she experienced. Okay, reminder, here's what happened. We do reviews. We review the show. Here comes Leslie Headland, Amanda Stenberg, guy who thinks Anakin blew up the Death Star, to come out and go, rah, 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 here's my, rah, 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 shoot their mouths off. And you know what we do? We comment. We react. We don't create the news. They create the news. They create the subject matter. We are simply analyzing and reacting and commenting. That is what you do. You're a YouTuber. Especially like me, I'm a reviewer. I'm going to review the show as a Star Wars guy, and I'm going to tell you why it's wrong in every step of the way, and you can go watch my reviews. The playlist is still there. It was wrong every step of the way. I didn't hide a single moment from that show from you. I showed you it all. So I didn't lie, but they will lie and claim, oh, they're just doing it because they hate everything. They're doing it because they're racist. And Amanda Stenberg will go out and do her diss track, her self-admitted diss track, where she calls millions of people racists and bigots. And then she'll go on The View and claim, I suffer racisms, but never produce a single solitary receipt. None of this has been publicly proven. It's all reaction to truth. To actual, not their truth, but actual truth, facts, and logic. Paul Tassi doesn't get that, though. Then the show was canceled, given Disney is well. Given that Disney is well, okay, I see how he says that. Given that Disney is well, the decision likely came down to mainly an absurdly high cost, which is true, and low viewership, which is very true. Though many, including some of the cast, credited the racism and harassment and felt it gave a win to toxic parts of the fandom. Once again, Actual real Star Wars fans are not toxic. They are passionate. They love the franchise. We will collect, protect, and preserve real Star Wars so that someday when Disney Star Wars gets swept into the history bin, people will know what George Lucas gave us and what he helped grow when he didn't feel like making movies anymore. That is what we will do. We are the actual Star Wars fandom. The standom are the ones who think Disney Star Wars can do no wrong, who think the Acolyte is great because of more representation, more inclusion, must stick it in anybody's butt. Now we go to the current phase, which went members of the Star Wars community and support shows like the Acolyte and his actors banded together to create a movement to try and get a number of specific Star Wars channels demonetized with examples of what they believe was racism and harassment in their videos, which should be against YouTube's TOS, Terms of Service.
Good. I can feel your anger.
No, they didn't band together. It was a well-orchestrated, highly choreographed, targeted, propaganda-filled hate campaign to try and take down Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, and a member of Geeks and Gamers, Ryan Kinnell, RK Outpost. Notice they didn't go after Critical Drinker. They tried to get Theory in their Star Wars Theory, and that has backfired massively too. However, once YouTube itself was tagged, the concept was met with an immediate reply 13 minutes later from YouTube that they reviewed the video in question and found that it was not in violation and no action would be taken. And this broke them all. It broke them all to a point where people were threatening the lives of YouTube CEO and executives and Team YouTube. If I see Team YouTube, here's a gif of somebody being shot or waving a gun or threatening more violence. That is the level of, I'll just say, retardation of the Disney Star Wars stan. They cannot accept that they all showed up, that each and every one of them showed up to watch this show. You don't count us, the reviewers. We showed up because we were here to tell you who didn't want to bother watching the show how bad it was. You come to us for the truth, the facts, and the logic. But they couldn't handle that their mere 72, I'll be generous, to 100,000 showed up in force. Fake promotion on social media, constantly saying, act like this, act like that. Don't believe the review bombing. Everybody loves it. And then it doesn't rate on Nielsen's. And then it tanks, and then it's canceled because nobody showed up except you weirdos who are all also Raylos because, they're all Raylos are weird. Anyway, let's keep going with Paul Tassi here. This was celebrated immediately by the targeted YouTubers in question, though further investigation reveals this is pretty generic YouTube auto message, which has been used hundreds of times before, and there's no evidence that YouTube took quite elaborate movements. Seriously, quite elaborate. Wow. Yeah. Orchestrated by regarding Ripley, or whatever the hell they're called, and pushed, and also other ringleaders like Star Wars Explained, the Damons, Molly Damon, who's blocked me for calling her out on her bullshit. That's who is in charge of this stuff. And every single stan immediately at 10, quite elaborate, how about organized, highly organized, and targeted exactly at 10 a.m. last Wednesday, September 4th, 2024, they all literally started posting the exact same message, the exact same pictures at the same time to @Team YouTube. And it continued for a couple hours after that. You're telling me that's quite elaborate? No, it's organized. It was that is an actual breach of terms of service right there. By trying to abuse and harass. That's harassment. By telling everybody to go after the channels in question. Nerdrotic, Geeks and Gamers, and RK Outpost. And Theory, too. Remember, they lumped Theory in right there at the end. And he's going to talk about Theory. And we'll comment on Theory's latest response to this. And auto message. How about the fact that Ripley 2 times pushed at Team YouTube, and Team YouTube did reply twice. They shut them down. Shut up and go away. We don't want to hear from you. It was likely just a bot scraping a video. And what video that even was isn't even clear. The one embedded to Twitter? The level of abruptness and lack of diligence is not very surprising. They're perfectly fine. They praise YouTube when YouTube swiftly cracks down on people who are spewing the opposite ideological opinion when it comes to politics and such. But suddenly, when YouTube literally looks at the videos in question, that their pathetic little list that they gave in their footnotes, when it sees that there is no breach of terms of service, suddenly YouTube's the villain. Listen, as a YouTuber, I have plenty of issues with how YouTube does business, with the algorithm and all that stuff, and us small creators trying to just get in there. But I can easily say, YouTube, they got this one right. Nobody, not Gary, not Jeremy, not Ryan, not anybody, all of us who make these videos to report on the topic of Disney Star Wars, we don't break terms of service. We never tell people to go harass anybody. We never actually use racial slurs in any of our commentary, yet we're bigots and racists. These are people who think retard is a slur. Since this happened, fans have now pointed towards people moving on to comment on black actors' Instagram that they want the Acolyte treatment, viewing that as a threat to mount a similar movement. The YouTuber side of this has escalated thanks to Star Wars Theory. Here we go. Here comes the attack on Theory. The largest Star Wars fan channel on the internet, who has been frequent centerpiece of what is viewed as the toxic part of the fandom. Theory also constantly bashed the Acolyte with the usual "it's the bad writing and breaks canon" claims, though it was a long pattern of him moving on from focused Star Wars lore discussion to lambasting much of what Disney has produced. All right, he's going to rant on Theory about this, and he's going to mention Theory's latest video where he dropped a bomb on how rotten Star Wars Explained Alex and Molly Damon are. Now, here's the thing. Theory, and this was the sole criticism I ever had of Theory. Theory, for the longest time, was seeing too much of a bright side to Disney Star Wars. He was always looking for the bright side, as opposed to someone like me, who, from the very beginning, 2012, 2013, 2014, I was anti-Disney taking over Star Wars. I mean, there's no evidence of that. This is a decade ago at this point. I wasn't on YouTube. I wasn't even watching YouTube. I was just in my personal life with my personal friends, very angry and very upset from what I saw was going to happen. And now I have been proven right. Everything I predicted all those long years ago has come to pass. Disney Star Wars is terrible, and it ruined any chance of real Star Wars going forward because they threw out the expanded universe. But Theory always took the positive turn, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I personally, and I publicly did it, I criticized Theory for not seeing the writing on the wall soon enough and not using his influence as the biggest Star Wars YouTube channel to shine a light on it. But look what happened. Here came the moment. When he finally turned that corner and realized what Disney Star Wars is doing. And he started to break from the dogma. He started to say what was on his mind, not just try and find a way to feel positive about it, but truly realized, wow, the Acolyte is shit. This is really what Disney Star Wars is. And as soon as he did that, they all turned on him. Everybody turned on him. Each and every person who had praised him for years as the greatest guy, the this and that, we love you Theory, turned on him. And have, for the past several months, made him, as Paul does say here correctly, the centerpiece of the Talk to Fandom. When in fact, Theory is as vanilla and cool, and when I say cool, I mean calm, cool, collected, and just generally nice. Theory doesn't have a mean bone in his body from what I can see. Not like me, where I'm going to go off and call these people cows and morons. You know? He's actually tried to find a middle ground, a middle road where everything can kind of be copacetic and move forward. So that's the guy they're claiming is toxic. That's a guy Paul Tassi and every single shill and stan is claiming is toxic. That's just wrong. Theory is the nicest of us all. And this is, to call him the most toxic is complete and utter bullshit. And it shows you what it is like when you're dealing with stans who are the puppets, the useful idiots of commie Marxist assholes who will dance them around and download the information into them to how to behave, to instantly turn on somebody when they break from the ideological dogma, because that's what this is. All of this is based in ideology. Remember, they love the Acolyte, not because it's Star Wars, not really, but because it pushes the not-so-secret agenda, it pushes leftist Marxist bullshit, because Acolyte is filled with commie Marxist crap. Lesbian coven of witches, they're communists. They're communists, plain and simple. I called it out in my video. Other people saw it too. It's all grounded in that shit. And they cannot stand when you break from their religion, because it's a religion with these people. Let's go on. Oh, now Paul's take on this whole thing. The hate for the Acolyte is unlike anything I've seen in Star Wars history, possibly even more than The Last Jedi, which is saying something. There absolutely was an industry created on YouTube dismantling the show each and every week. No, it's not an industry. It's simply reviewing the show and reviewing and commenting every interview where Leslie Headland and Amanda Stenberg shat on real fans and shat on real Star Wars. Or, like I said, Amanda Stenberg coming out and releasing a diss track calling everybody racist that doesn't agree with her. Even though this We Hate Disney Star Wars crew has been around for a long while, it did in fact make talking about the Acolyte online with any semblance of positivity practically impossible without being sworn by what were often devotees of these channels, if not the YouTubers themselves. Okay, no one is swarmed. Commenting on the internet is our freedom of speech right, especially here in America. It's the internet. If you post something publicly, expect a reaction, both positive and negative. But these are people who want to live in their fake positivity echo chamber, where everything is unicorn farts and happy-go-lucky. I could say a really nasty phrase I was going to say. We'll move on from that.
I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
They want to pretend their world is the reality. Cognitive dissonance. They see everything crumbling, but they're going to keep pushing forward. Everything has to be positive. There can be no negative. We can only pretend that everything works until it doesn't work, and then we're going to be negative. And as far for devotees of these channels, go watch everybody who's involved with cracking down on Disney Star Wars. Never once do we ever tell people to go to comment sections. Now, I myself, I will troll stands on Twitter, but that's just me having fun, and I never engage. I drop a single post, and I go away, and they hate that. They hate that I don't engage with them in a conversation. You can't have a conversation on Twitter. Twitter is meant for shit posting, plain and simple. That's reality. And when they say the YouTubers themselves, we'll say Jeremy, Gary, Ryan, mainly everybody involved, it's a joke. Whenever Jeremy posts something in reaction to this stuff on Twitter, in his own words, he does it as a sarcastic joke, and they take it completely seriously. There's the meme right now spreading fun and happiness that they're running with in response to this. It's a goddamn joke, but every single stan and shill are taking it so seriously. How dare they claim to be spreading fun and happiness in Star Wars? It's a joke. It's sarcasm, but they don't get it. They don't get it at all. The Acolyte was almost certainly canceled for an absurdly high budget, $180 million, and very low viewership, which third parties estimate to have documented as being lower than any other Star Wars series. That is an actual point of truth. Paul Tassi, you get a point for telling the truth at least once in this article. Still, the cancellation was absolutely celebrated as a win by the YouTube fan crowd and what they believe is vindication of their hate campaign against the show. It's not a hate campaign. It's telling the truth, reviewing the show without, Disney beer goggles on, like all the stands do. I've heard it expressed. I've been to conventions since the Acolyte came out and was canceled, and they ask these people, what do you like about this show? They can give no answer other than thirst trap and, oh my God, I love Amanda Stenberg. Oh my God, she's so great. I could see myself in her. That kind of bullshit. If Amanda Stenberg says she experienced lots of racism before, during, or the airing of the series, she is not lying. Yes, she is lying. You know why she's lying? Because she hasn't produced a single receipt. You are lying until you show evidence. Show me evidence. She has not. That's why she's lying. And there are multiple examples of racism against other actors of color in Star Wars, from John Boyega to Moses Ingram. Show me the John Boyega receipts. Everybody who gave Disney Star Wars a chance loved John Boyega. And Moses Ingram, the 3 really weird Instagram posts that are most likely AI generated by Disney, or at least bot generated, those aren't real. And remember, when it came to Obi-Wan, with the Vanity Fair article pushing it, they started first. Because remember the comment, we had to warn Moses Ingram to be ready for racist backlash to her character. No, you know what? I don't care about Moses Ingram. Reva was a shit character who has now been inserted into Star Wars lore by Disney to be the only reason that Luke Skywalker survives and is able to have his victories in the original trilogy. That's what they did. Poorly written, and Moses Ingram is a bad actress. She can't act. That's the bottom line. It has nothing to do with the color of her skin. No matter who they put Reva as, she was going to be a shit character and likely poorly portrayed the actress they decided to cast. Didn't have to be black. Could have been anything. It was going to be shit no matter what. It'd be very, very difficult to mount any sort of campaign to prove a giant corporate blob like YouTube that specific channels are breaking TOS due to racism and harassment. And listen, it's not hard. Well, it's not hard because if there's actual evidence of breaking terms of service, it's there, and YouTube will shut it down. It's not hard. See, that's Paul Tassi talking out of his ass. There will likely be nothing to stop this large group of YouTubers and their large audiences. I cannot think of other examples of fandom where a toxic portion has simply been wiped off the map in any meaningful way. Maybe the worst offenders sometimes, but rarely. It just doesn't really happen. It's more pronounced here because Star Wars is one of the worst manifestations of this, other than, say, MCU haters who spend hundreds of videos on their channels going after Brie Larson. The Brie Larson stuff was a gag. It was a gag, and it was commenting on her direct words. We didn't make any of it up. She made not made for 40-year-old white men comment. She made all the stupid shit she said, and we simply... well, I didn't. I wasn't on YouTube yet. But we commented on it. People commented on it, had fun with it. And now Brie Larson, shut up. Gee, do we talk about Brie Larson anymore? No. Because she got a better PR manager, a better PR team, and they said, hey, Brie, shut up. Just shut up. Pose for pictures, smile, wave at the camera, and go away. Don't talk. And guess what? Nobody thinks about Brie Larson anymore. If you don't stick your foot in the shit, we don't care. We're not obsessed. Unlike these people who are obsessed with every single YouTube channel that breaks from their Disney Star Wars ideology. That's the truth. And to talk about, oh, the worst offenders never get hit. Oh, the Star Wars is so bad, they're the worst. It's the worst toxic people ever. The people he's calling toxic are the real fans. The people who have true passion and love for Star Wars, for that galaxy George Lucas gave us. Paul Tassi ain't one of them. I've proven in previous videos, he didn't know shit about Star Wars. He didn't know nothing.
Don't try to razzle-dazzle me.
You cannot rely on Disney to back up its harassed actors like they should. What did I just say a minute ago? Right before Obi-Wan came out, in the Vanity Fair article, they admitted they told Moses Ingram to prepare for racist backlash. They told Amanda Stenberg in another Vanity Fair article to prepare for racist backlash. How is that them not backing up their actors? All they do is back up their actors. Disney Lucasfilm wanted the Acolyte to be the biggest, greatest, bestest thing ever so they could continue their crap version of the EU, the High Republic. That's what they wanted, and it failed because here's the truth. As I've been saying over and over again, they're the audience they wanted, the modern-day audience that they kicked every real Star Wars fan away for, it amounts to nothing. And the Acolyte has proven it. That is the core of all of this. We're done with this now. We're going to finish this up. That is the core of all of this. Paul Tassi and everybody trying to create a false narrative surrounding this entire event for the past couple of weeks now. They cannot handle the fact that the manufactured, crafted, carefully curated, and produced modern audience that Disney wanted to be clapping seals who they can throw dead fish at, they are a minority. They are the most extreme version of a minority. They don't even move the needle. They're also happy they have 71,000 signed petition. That's nothing. Worldwide, that's nothing. That shows there is no true audience for this. Just like there's no real audience for the High Republic. Just to show there's a diminishing audience for all things Disney Star Wars. So Paul Tassi, in the end, once more proves he knows nothing. He is happy to carry water for all the shills who created and ring-led this highly orchestrated, propaganda-filled, targeted, actual hate campaign to try and destroy the livelihoods of people. That's what this is. And all because their show got canceled because the world didn't like it nor watched it. It's a very simple equation. I hope you see it just like I do. And with that, we're done. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, a like would be very much appreciated. If you're new here, I invite you to subscribe to me right here, where I hope to earn your trust and support using facts and logic, because facts and logic do not care about fake fan Stan and SJW Fifis. Thank you again for watching. Take it easy. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, check out my gaming channel at Renaissance Nerd Arcade, and follow me on X Twitter under @TheRedNerd. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy.